When I first became aware that Donald Trump was actually running for president, my thought was, this can't possibly be happening.
Basically, for 25 years, Donald Trump had been flirting with the idea of running for president. It was basically a way for him to get a bunch of attention.
The combination of a clearly undisciplined candidate like Donald Trump and a handful of very competent Republicans, or seemingly competent Republicans, suggested a repeat of the cycle we saw in 2012.
You know, a lot of news outlets had already put their best reporters on Jeb Bush. He was supposed to be the front runner, the sort of presumed Republican nominee at, you know, a year out.
I guess I didn't really take it as seriously as I could have or should have.
It's hard to actually think that this person who's a showman is going to launch this credible campaign for president.
Yeah, so early 2014, I arranged to interview Donald Trump on his plane. So I inadvertently spent 2 days with Trump down at his kind of beachside compound in Palm Beach. I'm interviewing him, getting to know him. The piece that I wrote kind of called him out for 25 years of pretending to run for president just to kind of get attention. I predicted quite confidently that he never would actually run for president.
Yeah, so when Trump announced he was running for president, he came down with his wife on this escalator in Trump Tower.
Coming down the escalator, I think a few of us will forget that image.
But the escalator, everything, I think the mood was sort of jolly about it. I mean, I think that goes for a lot of newsrooms.
I was actually up in New Hampshire covering a Jeb Bush campaign rally, and I remember just sitting in this like town hall in New Hampshire, like watching the tweets come in about Trump's announcement. And I remember, I think I tweeted something like, "I feel like I'm being punked."
When I first saw a Trump event in person, I think that's when it all sort of came together. It was just a kind of a political event I'd never seen before.
When I was in a cab ride back to my hotel, and I was on the phone with my editor, kind of giving my readout of what had happened and kind of talking about insider political analysis. And I remember all of a sudden, the cab driver just like was obviously eavesdropping on me. The cab driver barked something like, "Trump is winning because he understands real Americans." And I remember just getting out of my cab and being like, okay, this is probably happening.
When he went after John McCain for having been captured as a prisoner of war, and there was all this condemnation that came from the Republican Party, for him to be able to say what he said, which was actually in many ways a criticism of all prisoners of war, and to not have it affect his support whatsoever, that was that moment where I thought, this isn't just your average candidate.
I would say that my own feeling about this really turned around the time of the Paris attacks and Trump's ability to capitalize on the Paris attacks and kind of open up a new front, policy front, which is the ban on Muslims into the United States. His vote share went up. So I kind of had two conclusions. First, the Republican base is really eating whatever Trump is cooking with regards to bigotry and nativism. And second, I don't think the Republican Party institutionally is equipped to deal with it. And if it's not equipped to deal with it, then I'm not sure how they're going to stop it.
The thing that I realized is that I underestimated Trump because I thought that all he wanted was attention. And what I think he really wanted was respect. And that's much more deeply rooted than I ever realized. It goes all the way back to when he was kind of this outer borough kid in Queens who wanted to live in Manhattan and be accepted as a true Manhattan elite. And he's kind of had this outsider status anxiety his entire life. And I think that I didn't realize how deeply he felt that and how that would fuel him to do something so kind of outlandish as actually run for president.